Alyssa Johnson, a black activist, was framed for a crime she didn't commit to silence her fight against corruption. In court, she not only proved her innocence, but exposed the police's dirty schemes, shocking everyone. What happened next will leave you speechless. Let's start from the beginning. Alyssa Johnson was a 28-year-old black woman with a magnetic presence and a fierce determination to create a better world. Her almond-shaped eyes radiated intelligence and empathy, framed by a cascade of natural curls she wore proudly as a symbol of her heritage. Born and raised in a historically underserved neighborhood, Alyssa had seen firsthand the impact of systemic inequality and racism. These experiences fueled her passion for social justice, and she dedicated her life to ensuring others wouldn't have to endure the struggles she faced. As a community activist, Alyssa organized town hall meetings, youth outreach programs, and grassroots campaigns to hold local government and law enforcement accountable. Her voice became a beacon of hope for her community, but it also made her a target for those threatened by her growing influence. Alyssa's determination to fight against corruption had already uncovered instances of misconduct within the city's police department, making her both a hero to her neighbors and a thorn in the side of those in power. Late one evening, after hosting a community event focused on police reform, Alyssa was walking home, carrying a canvas bag filled with leftover flyers and notes. The dimly lit streets were quiet, save for the occasional hum of passing cars. Suddenly, two officers approached her. "Excuse me, ma'am," one of them said, his voice sharp. "We've had reports of a burglary in the area. Do you mind telling us where you're coming from?" Remaining calm, Alyssa explained her evening's activities, even showing them her ID and the flyers in her bag. But the officers' expressions remained cold and calculating. Without warning, they handcuffed her. "You fit the description," they said, their tone dismissive as they ignored her protests. At the station, the situation worsened. The police produced a bag of stolen items, claiming it had been found in Alyssa's possession. She recognized the ploy immediately. This was no coincidence. The department was silencing her, attempting to discredit her activism and destroy her credibility. Alone in her cell, Alyssa vowed to fight back, knowing her battle was far from over. She was determined to expose the truth and reclaim her voice. The news of Alyssa Johnson's arrest spread like wildfire, igniting a storm of reactions across her community. For years, she had been the voice of hope and change, someone who fearlessly challenged injustice. Yet, now her face was plastered across headlines, accompanied by allegations that painted her as a dangerous criminal. Some people rallied to her defense, confident in her integrity. Others, swayed by the police's claims and doctored evidence, began to doubt her, whispering about how even leaders can have dark secrets. This public divide hit Alyssa hard. From her cell, she grappled with the pain of betrayal, especially from those she had considered allies. People she trusted had turned their backs on her, offering judgment instead of support. As she sat in the cold, stark room, Alyssa replayed the night of her arrest over and over in her mind, searching for anything she might have missed, a detail, a clue, something that could prove her innocence. Outside the jail, the police were relentless in their campaign to discredit her. They leaked carefully crafted evidence to the media, images of the stolen items supposedly found in her possession, mugshots designed to cast her in the worst possible light, and a narrative that suggested she was the mastermind of an elaborate scheme. The headlines were damning, feeding public outrage and casting a shadow over her years of hard work. Alyssa wasn't entirely alone in her fight. Marcus Hill, her court-appointed lawyer, was young but sharp, with a passion for justice that matched her own. He visited her late one night, armed with case files and grim determination. "They're targeting you to send a message," Marcus said, his voice firm. "They want to show what happens when someone like you challenges their authority. But I promise you, we'll fight this." His words rekindled Alyssa's resolve. "If they think they can break me, they've underestimated the wrong person," she replied. Determined to expose the truth, Alyssa began documenting everything: the arrest, the inconsistencies in the evidence, and the lies being spread. Alone in her cell, she clung to one thought. She wouldn't just fight back, she would win. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Alyssa Johnson's trial began, every seat filled with spectators eager to witness the unfolding drama. On one side, the prosecution exuded confidence, armed with fabricated evidence and a carefully crafted narrative to frame Alyssa as a cunning criminal. On the other, Alyssa sat composed, her sharp eyes scanning the room as she and her lawyer, Marcus Hill, prepared for battle. The prosecution wasted no time presenting their case. They displayed photos of the allegedly stolen items and played up the narrative of Alyssa as a mastermind, weaving a web of lies to sway the jury. But Alyssa and Marcus were ready. Leaning on her meticulous journal and keen memory, Alyssa pinpointed glaring inconsistencies in the police's story. One critical piece of evidence turned the tide. The stolen items, claimed to have been found in her possession, had been logged into the station's inventory hours before her arrest. When Marcus presented this timeline to the court, murmurs rippled through the gallery, signaling doubt in the prosecution's case. The real breakthrough came when Alyssa made the bold decision to take the stand. With steady resolve and measured words, she recounted the events of her arrest, exposing the contradictions in the officers' testimonies. Her genuine tone and detailed recollections struck a chord with the jury, painting a stark contrast to the prosecution's flimsy narrative. "I've spent my life fighting for justice," she told them, her voice clear. "Why would I throw it away for something I didn't do?" But the moment that shook the courtroom came when Marcus introduced a crucial piece of evidence: a video recorded by a bystander during Alyssa's arrest. The footage revealed the officers casually discussing how to make this one stick, an unmistakable reference to their scheme. Gasps filled the room as the video played. Within hours, it went viral, sparking public outrage and forcing the police chief to testify. On the stand, the chief faltered under Marcus's pointed questions. His attempts to justify the department's actions fell apart as Marcus revealed a disturbing pattern of targeting activists like Alyssa. The jury's expressions shifted: anger, disbelief, and ultimately, conviction. The truth was undeniable. Alyssa had been framed, and now the system was exposed. The jury deliberated for hours before delivering the verdict: not guilty. Alyssa's relief was overwhelming, but her fight wasn't over. The public outcry against the police department grew louder, fueled by the viral video and the revelations from her trial. Protests erupted across the city, demanding accountability. Alyssa didn't stop there. She filed a lawsuit against the department and used the settlement to launch a nonprofit focused on fighting systemic injustice. Her story inspired others to speak out, and she became a national figure in the fight for justice. Months later, as Alyssa stood on a stage at a rally, she looked out at the crowd of supporters and felt a sense of purpose. "They tried to silence me," she said, her voice steady, "but they only made me louder. Together, we can build a world where justice is more than a dream. It's a reality."